Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. And in the tank next to me here, you would usually see my lavender betta swimming all around, but unfortunately he is extremely sick. The culprit is fin rot, and I need to set up a hospital tank and move the betta into that tank, because if I don't do anything, then he will most probably die. As I mentioned, I hardly get to see the betta anymore. He spends most of his time actually underneath or behind the filter where there is hardly any flow. His fins are basically almost completely gone, and even though he still eats pretty well, he is extremely weak, and as I said, he's just trying to stay completely out of the flow of water just to reserve his energy. And I do want to get him out of this tank and set up a hospital tank for him, as I mentioned, so that I can keep a watchful eye onto him. I can also feed him way better, and I do want to medicate him with some proper medicine, but we will get back to that all just now. Now, fin rot. What is actually fin rot? And well, as the name suggests, it's the fins rotting away actually on the fish. Fin rot is usually caused by two things, and it can either be bacterial or it can be fungal. And you might be asking to yourself, well, bacterial, fungal, where did these things come from? And the bacteria and the fungus is actually always present in each and every single one of your tanks. It is a complete natural part of the ecosystem, though there are a few things that can actually cause it to become a major problem. The number one thing that can actually cause any sort of sickness to, well, become a problem is stress. And just like us humans, if we are under stress, our immune system will just starts plummeting and becomes weaker and weaker. This just invites, well, all sorts of, well, things to, well, become worse in us, and eventually we become sick. And with fish, it is absolutely no different, and I think it could actually even be worse. Stress is just, it's completely terrible for any sort of fish, and there are a lot of factors that can actually stress out your fish, especially with bettas. They are, well, they're a little bit finicky, and yeah, unfortunately, they stress out a little bit. There are a lot of things that can cause it, and unfortunately, we, the fish keepers, are primarily to blame for most of these things. I will definitely be extremely honest with you, and I did cause quite a bit of stress to the betta, and the number one thing that I primarily neglected with this tank were water changes. I did way too few of them, and I'm pretty sure that my water chemistry at some point just didn't really line up with the betta's needs. Then at some point I also took out the filter, and I did somewhat of a complete restart of the filter by adding in quite a lot of biological media into it that wasn't completely cycled in yet or anything. So unfortunately, also with that, I'm pretty sure that the water chemistry also completely tanked at some point, which caused quite a bit of stress onto the betta. However, the water temperature has been perfect the entire time. I got quite a powerful heater in the back of the corner there. The water temperature is always around about 26 degrees, 28 degrees. Betta do like it extremely warm. Now, I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'll put it up there. And as mentioned, bettas do like it warm, and they do like a consistent temperature. And then another thing that might have also caused quite a bit of stress was I also had a little bit too much flow coming from the filter. I can regulate the flow on the filter, and I did turn it down quite a bit now already. The flow in the filter should have actually not impacted the betta actually at all, but as he got sick, he got weaker and weaker, which meant that he just couldn't really cope with the flow anymore. Plus his fins were just getting smaller and smaller, and I never really just addressed that flow problem. That's also one of the reasons why he's also just sitting behind the filter. Now, as I mentioned, fin rot can be caused by either bacterial or either a fungal disease, and usually at the end of the day, depending on the fish's health and how far one of the two has spread, eventually both of them will be present. I'm extremely sure with my betta that it has started off as a bacterial infection. I don't see any white fluff on the fish anywhere, so I don't think that the fungal disease has, well, really taken a hold yet. But if it does get worse and worse and worse, the fungus will eventually start appear, and once the fungal infection also really starts taking hold, well, then things really get bad. And as I mentioned, I want to properly medicate the betta, so I want to get him out of this tank. The reason obviously for setting up a hospital tank, yes, you can monitor your betta fish way easier in a separate tank. And the other reason is I also have quite a few amana shrimps inside here and snails, and I don't want to add the medicine directly into this tank here. Some medications, they do contain heavy metals in them, and that is an absolute poison for any of your invertebrates, and it will immediately kill all of your shrimp. It can also kill off all of your snails, and some form of medications will also cause the beneficial bacteria in your filter to also completely die off. And well, that's going to be a complete restart for the tank, which I don't really want to do here. For the last few days, I have been doing a 30 to 50% water change on this tank, since I also have somewhat of a milky water, which also suggests that I do have some form of bacterial bloom in here, and that bacterial bloom could also be stressful for the Betta. So if I take the Betta out and just continue with my water changes, with the water changes also being stressful on the Betta, it is just absolutely the right idea to just remove him out of this tank completely. Setting up a hospital tank is actually extremely easy. All you need is a container. Now, the cheapest way to actually start things off would be to get one of these plastic tubs. Definitely would recommend to get one of these if you want to set up a hospital tank. Easiest way, they're cheap and you don't actually really need much, though you should have enough volume to actually add in a filter and a few plants. And you should also read the recommended dosage of the medication, and it should all fit into a container. So plastic tubs would definitely be the best way to go. Unfortunately, I have a lot of aquarium things in my plastic tub, so I'm not going to be using it, because I luckily actually built my own little tank not too long ago. Now, I built this DIY tank actually about a week ago, and it should be perfect for the hospital tank. It's just under 40 liters, and as you can see, it is a pretty long tank. By adding in the filter on the one side of the tank here, the flow on the other side should be extremely minimal, and you do want to add a filter into the hospital tank. Most of the medications that you can buy in the shops, they do tend to deoxygenate the water quite a bit. So if you don't have a filter, do get a air stone at least and a air pump, so that you can just pump in some oxygen, and do add in some plants at least. The plants are going to give your fish a few hiding places, especially in a bare tank like this where there's nothing inside. If everybody just walks past the tank constantly, that is going to spook your fish, and that causes stress again. We want to minimize stress as much as possible for any sick fish. It doesn't matter what fish it is or what illness they have. Any sort of stress is going to compromise the immune system, and or you could also add in a bit of hardscape for the fish as well. I just went around outside in one of my aquarium boxes of shame, and I did still find a old small little filter and another heater, and I just gave them both a quick test just to see that they work. They both work fine. I gave the heater also a little bit of a clean, and now I'm going to take this tank and everything and set it up on the only place that this tank will actually fit, which is next to my desk and next to my window. It's going to give a little bit of natural light for the Betta. I'm not going to be running a light on this tank, and if you are setting up a hospital tank, you don't need a light at all. By keeping the fish in partial darkness or just in normal daylight is also going to reduce stress as well. As mentioned, we want to reduce stress as much as possible, especially since medicating your fish is also a stressful deal as well. But I'm going to set the tank up, I'm going to fill it up, and I'm going to let it run for a little while so that the water can actually get up onto temperature. Then we can go and catch the Betta out of the tank. We are going to then drip acclimate the Betta to this tank so that he can get a little bit acquainted to the water chemistry of this aquarium. And once he's inside, oh yes, I also still want to add in a few plants. I have a few in my plant grower tank, but once the Betta is inside of the tank, then I'm going to get the medication out. We'll add it to the water, and we'll then see how it goes from there. Got the water inside. Now I'm just going to add my dechlorinator, switch on the heater and the filter, add in a few plants, and well, then everything should be ready to go. There we go, the hospital tank is set up. I have the filter and the heater inside. I did add 2 plants, but unfortunately this is all that I had. But it's a hospital tank, you don't really need much in it. You don't actually need to add in plants neither, though I just want to add in some plants just for the Betta to have at least something that he can hide inside. I did also add a thermostat on the side here, so I'm just going to keep an eye out on it for a little while just to see that the temperature stays nice and warm for the Betta fish. But I would say let's get over to the nanocube and then we can get the Betta fish into its separate little container so that we can temperature and drip acclimate him to the hospital tank. With a bit of convincing, I did get him out of the tank. Wasn't really that difficult to catch him, but this is now the first time that I can actually really take a close look at him. Usually I just try to concentrate on actually directly feed him, but now that I can actually really look at his fins, there is a bit of fungal growth there as well. The fins are obviously completely rotten away and he is obviously quite stressed out. So I don't want to stress him out even more. I'm going to go and acclimate him and, well, put him into his hospital tank. His breathing is, well, pretty rapid, which means he's quite stressed out. And well, his colors and everything, obviously, it's all not there, but hopefully we can get him better soon. It's been roughly around about 2 weeks now since I added the Betta fish into the hospital tank, and he's doing so much better. He's swimming around so much more. He's extremely active, which means that he's got way more energy and he's no longer just slumped onto the floor where he's just trying to preserve his energy, which means that he's obviously recovered quite well already. His appetite has also increased a lot, so he's eating way more. He's also actively actually also looking for food, which is also a great sign. And one very amazing thing is his fins aren't actually curled up in the end anymore. He's actually flaring out his fins, which definitely shows that the medication has taken hold and is actually helping him. It is going to take quite a bit of time for the fins to actually regrow. I haven't really seen any new fin growth yet, so that's still going to take quite a bit of time, but he is going to stay in the hospital tank for some time still. I do need to address his old tank first before I actually move him back. And in the hospital tank, I can just keep a better eye on him. There is no jagged hardscape inside of here, which could damage his fins or anything like that. I just want him to fully recover. I just want to see some fin growth and, well, just keep my eye on him for a little bit longer before I actually move him back. Before I actually move him back into his old tank, I do need to address quite a few things. I did neglect the tank a little bit over this entire time. I did do my 50% weekly water change, though I never really cleaned the glass. I never really addressed any sort of algae problems. There is a bit of cyanobacteria that has been growing in the bottom here of the substrate, even though that is not really a big of a problem. I also added in quite a bit of red root floaters at the top just to, well, remove any sort of excess nutrients that are in the water column. And the red root floaters have basically just multiplied absolutely like crazy in this tank, which suggests to me that they are doing their job definitely there. Though the tank seems to be doing quite well though. The mono shrimp, they are swimming all around the place. They've also cleaned up the tank quite a bit. There are going to be a few other additions of fish that I still want to add to this tank, which is going to be in a future video. There is going to be quite a reshuffling of fish and all of that in the tank coming soon. There are also 2 other tanks that I am going to be rescaping soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'm going to leave everything as it is for now. I'm just going to keep an eye out on the Betta fish for a week or 2 still, address all of the issues with the nano cube, get it all looking nice and pretty again. But that is all going to be for the next episode, so definitely stay tuned for that as well. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell not to miss out on future content and to see the Betta fish recovering further. If you've had problems with fin rot in the past, leave a comment down below and tell me your experience about it all. And well, with that, I would say I'll catch you in the next one.